Disneyland fatigue. Is it me? Is it them? I think we're breaking up.
Now get ready. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Ride Mechanic channel. How the heck are you doing today? All right, today's video sparked from a recent trip at Disneyland that we took. Now, this video is going to be about Disneyland fatigue. And now this is a really weird subject for me because I'm a Disneyland fan myself. My wife is as well. We've been going there. We've been growing up going there. We've gone there as many as like 5 or 6 times a year. When we moved away from California, that of course lessened it, but literally the last 5 years, we have gone to Disneyland at least once a year, and we've never had this issue before. So I want to see if some of you maybe could help me out and help me figure out what is going on here, because I think I'm dealing with some Disneyland fatigue, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just over it and it's time to move on to something else. I know the wife and I were talking about possibly going to Disneyland Paris next. That might be the next big adventure for us, start traveling overseas more, because that sounds like fun. This year I started out in Phantasialand in Germany. That was amazing, and I was really curious this trip to see if going from such a great park like Phantasialand all the way back to Disneyland, like, were the two going to compare with each other? Were they going to beat each other up? Was one going to be better than the other one? And it was kind of interesting, so let's talk about this. All right, so as a precursor for the video, we did a 4-day trip to Disneyland. This is a trip that we've done before. This isn't a new thing for us. We've done it many times before, and we've always been happy about it. Even this trip, we were happy that we went. We were glad we went. It was a good trip. We had nothing wrong with it. But there was lots of stuff that happened while we were there that we all noticed, and it's something that we pulled away from this trip that we don't normally have. There were things like, a lot of times this trip, we noticed there was a lot of stuff broken down. Now, when you go to a park, breakdowns are normal. You know, there's things broken down all over the place, and the park gets them back up and running. Disney has to maintain this little tiny strict window that they operate in to keep rides moving along. But there were things that seemed to be like systematically having trouble. For instance, the Guardians of the Galaxy, while we were there, which used to be the Tower of Terror, that ride was only operating one elevator shaft pretty much the entire time we were there. Wait times were climbing up into the 2-hour range for it. It was really weird. We don't normally see stuff like that. Normally, if you have something like that happen, it's one day, and then the next day, it's pretty much fixed. You know, there's something, and they fix something, and it's back up and running, back to all 3 shafts working. So you have 3 shafts, 6 cabs that could be running in there at the same time. So there's a lot of capacity in the ride that way. But there were other things as well. Now, we've this year in particular, around now, there's a lot of people feeling just fatigued from money. Like, there's a lot of, like, everything is financially expensive out there. Gas is expensive. Memory for computers is expensive. Like, everything is expensive out there. So to go on one of these trips, it costs a lot of money to do. So that's, I think, an added pressure on some of these trips that we are all feeling. I know there's a lot of people, I've talked with other people that said they're not buying a Six Flags season pass like they used to. They're not buying the other season passes that they used to. They're just staying with smaller parks going around the area. Now, here's one of the things that I wanted to bring up. I think that I essentially ruined this myself. I think I did this to myself. Now, basically last year, for those of you who've been subscribed for a while, last year, you remember last summer, I did a cross-country trip, basically, where I went from Nebraska, where I live, and I went pretty much out to the East Coast and then came all the way back. And I visited 6 parks along the way. I went to Hershey's, I went to Knoebels, I went to Cedar Point, I went out there to Dorney Park, up to Canada's Wonderland, then finished off with Six Flags Great America in Illinois, and then came back home. We went to a lot of places. We did a lot of stuff, and Mrs. the Ride Mechanic and I were talking about this when we go out and go on walks. We were talking about this feeling that we had from this trip. It wasn't so much like the trip like we normally have. Normally we go, we're excited to go, we're excited that we're there, and then we leave, we're like, we can't wait to go back to Disneyland. This particular trip, however, it was like we were excited to go, we were excited that we're there, and then when we left, we collectively got the feeling that we're just kind of done with Disneyland and we don't want to go anymore. Not ever, but we're good for a couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years now. It's like we're good for that. Wanted to move on to the next chapter in life. There were things that happened there that kind of added to the experience too. There was lots of animatronics broken down all over the place. There was lots of rides working at lowered or diminished capacity. There was a lot of stuff like the park was sold out on 2 of the days. Lines were incredibly long, but at the same time that was happening, there was nobody staying close by. I think that's fueling the fire of like people just don't have the money to stay in the hotels, which is completely understandable. Those on-resort hotels, especially we were staying at the Disneyland Hotel, those are quite expensive for a lot of people to stay there, and a lot of people just flat out can't afford to stay there. So understandably so, but we had family come for 2 or 3 of the days. We had family come for 3 of the days, and they were saying the same thing. They were like, oh my gosh, we got in, the parking structure was jam-packed full. Like we were already parking on top levels, and it was just like an hour after the park opened. So the parking lot was jam full. Now, at the Disneyland Hotel, when we go there, normally we go there and we get these, once you get to the hotel elevator, at the end of the night, you have to like fight to get up the elevator. Normally there's a big crowd of people at the bottom of the elevators and they're all waiting to go. And you get up there, he's like, sometimes you have to wait 10 minutes just to get an elevator up to the room. The same thing in the morning time, you have to wait a long time sometimes to find an empty elevator, an elevator with space to get back down to the bottom. When you go to downtown Disney, there's normally a 10-ish minute line to get through the security checkpoint. Well, this time none of that happened. The park was sold out on 2 of the days. You couldn't buy tickets for it. And then you go up to security. Every day we were there, we went to security at downtown Disney, and we walked straight through every single day. In fact, the last day when we left was a Saturday. Not only did we go straight through, we went straight through multiple times because we were walking around doing other things. So we were in and out of downtown Disney like 4 or 5 times, and we went straight through every single time. So it's like, what is going on with the crowd capacity there as well? We went to Monsters Incorporated, and man, we waited an hour and 20 minutes in line for that ride. Direct sunlight, oh my gosh, Florida has it right. At least they cover the queue lines. California, not so much. But so when we went on Monsters Incorporated, I was going through there noticing there was lots of stuff in the background that I could see that I normally couldn't see. It was like they took parts and pieces down and out, and you could see things behind the sets, essentially. You could see like supports and scaffolding that you normally can't see. It's like there was shrouds missing inside the attraction. Now, that is one of the things that I believe is going to go away for the Avatar land, whatever that's going to be in that area. So I think they're just starting to let that stuff slide because they don't plan on maintaining it for much longer before they eventually have to tear the thing out. We had other things, like it was my wife's birthday while we were there. So I ended up getting one of these Celebration Dome cakes. These cakes are interesting. They're really, really hard to get a hold of. So because of that, you can get a hold of them. You have to place an order 3 days in advance, but you can only get them at a designated restaurant. You can get them at in-room dining through the Disneyland Hotel. You could get them in Blue Bayou, I think was one of them. The Riverbell Terrace was one of them. And I think the Carnation Cafe was one of them. You can get them at one of those 3 restaurants, but if you're not eating at those restaurants, if you don't have a reservation booked, you can't go in there and get those things. And that was troublesome because my wife wanted to eat at the Plaza Inn, and the Plaza Inn didn't offer that. So I can't just go pick up one and bring it over there real quick because these things are really hard to get a hold of. So what I ended up having to do is I had to place an order with the Disneyland Hotel, in-room dining, and I confirmed it on multiple days, multiple times. I'm going to be there at this date, this time. They confirmed everything with me, and then it came to that date, that time, cake wasn't there. So my daughter, who went back to pick it up all the way from the park back to the hotel, she had to call up and go downstairs and basically say, where is this thing? And they had to scramble and get it, deliver it back to the room. And then she had to hightail it back to the park because it's a white chocolate cake and the thing was basically melting on the way back into the park. So that was a bit of a hassle. On the first night when we went there, my wife went up to the room and so it's me and my wife, my son, and my daughter staying with us all in the same room. It was one of those things. She went up there. She requested that we had a fold away bed so we could have basically 3 beds. So when we went up there, it's like that wasn't right. There was a chair there. There was 2 beds and a chair. It's like, nope, that's not right. So she called up the front desk and said, hey, can we move to another room? And now she's texting me this because I'm still in the park. And it was one of those things that was interesting because she's saying, oh, we are going to have to change rooms. And I'm like, it's 9 o'clock and the park is sold out. Like, there's no way they're going to have another room ready. So I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be a pain in the butt. And then she calls back and just a minute later and says, oh, no, they got us another room. We went right over to this other room. And then the bellhop took the luggage to the other room because we had checked our luggage for the day from the airport. So the bellhop said, oh, they're like, just leave the luggage because we got to go to this other room. And the bellhop was like, well, where's the other room? It's like next floor down and over. So the bellhop literally said, I can do that. I've got nothing else to do. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. It's the evening time. The park's closing soon. We were at California Adventure that day. I'm like, the park's closing soon. And they've got nothing else to do because normally there's a surge of bellhop usage right at the very beginning of the morning and right at the end of the night when people are coming back from the park. They do exactly like we did. They traveled for the day. They go into the hotel room and they're like, hey, we've got stuff. We need it brought back up because we've spent all day at the park and today is our travel day. So the bellhops normally get pretty busy at nighttime there. That didn't happen. So we got no hotel usage. The bellhops have essentially said they have nothing to do. So it's like, okay, how is the park sold out? Now, it was grad night. For 2 of the nights we were there, it was a grad night celebration. One of the nights we were in Disneyland and one of the nights we were in California Adventure. That has something to do with it, I'm sure. But overall, it was just a really weird experience. Now, remember I said we took that trip at the very beginning of the year, or we took the trip in 2025 last year, basically. And we went to all those parks. Now, where I was going with that is that I think we just got so used to going to Disneyland over and over and over again, and just a couple of other places. I think it's one of those things that we basically just fell into a rut, and we didn't realize we were in a rut until we went to those other parks, and we saw every single park was something new, something excited, something we had to come back for. Almost every park, we were like, well, we really need to come back to this park because there was stuff we didn't do. It's like Cedar Point. It's like I didn't even do a third of the stuff that was there. The same thing. We felt really like we really need to go back to Knoebels and give Knoebels more time. So we went to Disneyland. We went back to Disneyland. And now we're comparing it to those other parks we were at. And we were asking ourselves the question, what's new? What's exciting? What's the wow factor? But the thing is that we've been to Disneyland pretty much all of our lives. I don't think there was a new and exciting for us. There wasn't the wow factor. So we came away from the trip with just, that was it? That's all there was? It wasn't a right feeling. So we were like, man, I think we were just done with Disneyland at that point. Quite unusual, I have to say. It was an unusual thought. And my wife and I are both very like, okay, we don't get us wrong. We love being there. We love it. It's a great place, but it just didn't hit the spot this time. That's, I think, the main takeaway from it. It just didn't hit the spot. So we were like, what is the spot? We kind of want to go back to other places. I mean, we wouldn't be fine with just going to, we'd be fine just going to Disneyland Paris. That's where we want to go next. In fact, the next Disney park we want to go to is Disneyland Paris. But we'd even be fine with going to Disney World. I think we're just done with Disneyland. A lot of stuff. Like, for instance, it was the beginning of June, the very beginning of June at Disneyland. and they had Pirates of the Caribbean closed for refurbishment. Now I know rides come up and down and go into refurbishment, out of refurbishment, all that stuff. But it's like you have one of your major attractions. Granted, at Disneyland, almost every attraction is a major attraction. So you have one of your major attractions down during summer. So once you pass Memorial Day, that pretty much for amusement parks marks the start of summer. A lot of parks go weekend only operation and right up until Memorial Day, and then once Memorial Day hits, it is boom, full-time operation. Memorial Day pretty much starts summer. And that's when the park should be running at its 100%. Is from Memorial Day. I mean, that's a classic season for almost every park out there. Memorial Day to Labor Day should be like 3-ish months of that is your full-time hardcore season where the parks open every day and you have as much stuff as possible with as many units as possible running. And it's like we go there and it's like Pirates of the Caribbean was down. It's like, really? Pirates was down? Was that the only thing? It's like, no, Buzz Lightyear was down too. It's like, okay, Buzz Lightyear was down too? Yeah. It's like, well, what was the main draw for this year? It's like, oh, they redid the fireworks show. It's like, cool. How was the fireworks show? It's like, it was good if you like watching a projection on the castle and not seeing really hardly any fireworks. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, you have to be pretty much on Main Street looking at the castle to see all the projections and stuff that's on everything. Oh, so it's a projection show. It's like, well, yeah, it's actually a projection show with just a couple of fireworks in the background. It's like, man, that's not what we're there for. That's not the thing. We went to Rise of the Resistance. We went to the Rise of the Resistance ride and went on that. And during that time, there was a whole bunch of animatronics in there that weren't working either. I had a lot of issues with stuff that was non-operational. On top of that, like my wife's, because we were separated with our big group of people, my wife's convoy, whatever you want to call it, the audio skipped out. The audio crapped out on like a quarter of the ride for them. So they were that was kind of awkward for them. For me, I pointed out at least 3 or 4 of the major animatronics that weren't working. The whole scene with Kylo Ren at the end and all that stuff, that wasn't working. It was just static. So I was like, okay, lots of breakdown, things like that. Big Thunder Mountain, this was an interesting one. Big Thunder Mountain, we went there, and as you're going through, there's 3 lifts on that ride. Yeah, I believe they're A, B, and C. A is in the like the Rainbow Mine, basically. B is the short one that goes up by the goat, and C is the big one that has the big dynamite finale at the end of it. So on the C lift, multiple times while we were there, because I started paying attention to it, the train would go up the C lift and get to Lift Park, and the train would stop. And it would pause there for sometimes up to 10 seconds, and then the ride would start it up again and would keep going. And I was like, that's interesting. And all the time that I have ever ridden that ride, honestly, I've never stopped on Lift C before. Granted, I've never stopped on any of the other lifts either. Like, it was just one of those things, it's like, never done that before. And then that day I was there, it's like, it was stopping on Lift C every single time. I thought we were going to have a full shutdown and evacuation. I mean, we were in line for Peter Pan. Peter Pan went down. It's like there's a 35-minute line, about 20 minutes into it, 25 minutes into it. That one went down. Fault, unknown. Basically, I never saw maintenance there. It was simply just the cast members were able to go in. It took them about 15 minutes to clear the ride out manually and then start it back up and running and keep it going. It's like, okay. My favorite ride, Matterhorn bobsleds. The B-side, of course. The B-side's awesome. But the animatronic Yetis that were throughout the ride, they weren't doing their normal thing either. By normal, I would say that's what I'm used to. You go through there, and the Yeti, like up at the very top of the mountain especially, the Yeti kind of moves his whole body over, or the abominable snowman, whichever one I call it, moves the whole body over and like yells at you as you go by. It's really loud, really intense. And this time, pretty much wasn't there. The one midway through down on the bottom side through the tunnel was just kind of like lifting up and down like it was on one static little pneumatic cylinder, just lifting the whole thing up and down. I know that's not how they work, but that's kind of what it looked like. And it's like, huh, that was interesting. Guardians of the Galaxy, they for some reason, had two of the shafts down completely, which means they were down to 1/3 their capacity. And I think even on that, at some point, they were only running with one elevator of the one shaft. So, I mean, lines on that was extremely long. The first day we were there, California Screamin' was, keep saying that, California Screamin'. The not California Screamin', i.e. the Incredicoaster, was broken down most of the day. And it wasn't up and running. So they finally got it up and running, and the line for that just went to the insane level quick. So quick. Soaring over California, my favorite video there, we had a breakdown on that. So it wasn't so much, that one wasn't the ride failed at all. Don't get me wrong there. The ride didn't fail there. Someone kicked their shoes off from the very top. The shoes hit the screen. Both shoes hit the screen, thump, thump. And they ride stopped it, or the motion stopped it, whichever one it was. They ride stopped it, and they had to have someone come out and verify that nothing actually fell off the ride. That was, in fact, just the shoes that hit the ground. And they did, and they got us back down from there. There's another thing I've been thinking about. On Tiana's Broke Down Adventures out there, this was never the way in Splash Mountain, but on the final lift, the big one that goes up to the big drop, I think that's also a C lift as well. That final lift, there is now a cast member that's stationed at the base of the lift down there. Now, you won't notice it, like as you go through that base of the lift, if you look over to the right, you'll see an exit door. Basically, it'll say exit, and there's a door right there, and there's a curtain. And if you just look below the curtain a little bit, there's a chair there, and all the time there's a cast member sitting there. I've seen it on multiple occasions now. The first time I saw it, I just thought they were having trouble with the ride that day. The second time I saw it, there was no trouble with the ride, but there's a cast member sitting there. And I saw it again this last time, and I'm just wondering, like, what's up with the cast member sitting there? Is that needed for some sort of evacuation if people been getting out of the boats too much when it stops and breaks down right there? So that was their answer. If it breaks down right there, someone needs to walk over there and tell people not to get out of the boats. Very possible. I'm not sure. When we were over in California Adventure, we were standing there waiting for something, and I'm just staring at the structure for not California Screamin', right, for the Incredicoaster. And I'm looking at it, and I'm noticing towards the bottom, around the stuff where the guests are, there's a lot of rust on things. And I also noticed that on Autopia too, where the handrails and stuff are. There's a lot of rust coming from everything. I started shifting my focus away from just the function of the rides, and I started looking at the overall cleanliness of everything. Because again, Disney holds themselves to that really high standard. They set the benchmark, the bar there. So they kind of invite that sort of stuff. So I'm looking around California Screamin', and the exit gates and stuff that are there, they're bright white paint for the structure and the gates and everything else, and they are just bleeding orange rust all over everything. And it didn't look good at all. The same thing with Autopia. I saw a lot of stuff where the queue line things were, where there was a lot of rust coming out of things down towards the bottom. And it was very just like, I would say, it's not very Disney-like. You know, I could use that quote where I say it's not very Disney-like. It's just rusted down at the bottom. So we were walking around the hub at Disneyland. You know what the hub is? That's where the partnership statue is. That's where all the lands connect at the very center of the park in front of the castle. So I walk around the hub, and we were walking towards, I think it was Adventureland, and there was a popcorn spill on the ground. And then we walked into Adventureland, and we changed our mind and did something shortly afterwards. I think we maybe hit the shooting guns over there. My nephew loved to do that sort of stuff. So I think we came back out like Frontierland and walked by, and the exact same popcorn spill is still there. Because now that same popcorn spill that I saw when we walked by is now trampled, and it's now in a fine dust all over the ground. And it's like, and that caused me to start looking around. Normally, when you stand in the hub and look around and just stop and look and observe, almost all the time, at least in your field of vision, you could spot one person. I'm going to say it's probably the wrong term, I know this, but it's probably somebody from, I'm going to say janitorial, that is there, that is out doing sweeping. You know, they're out sweeping, taking out trash and stuff like that. And you could normally see these people sweeping up stuff all over. they do the thing Disney was famous for, where they move the trash can over, sweep up, and then move the trash can back to make sure under the trash can is clean. Again, Disney, very high standards. And I stood there for a couple minutes looking around because we were paused there, and I did not see anybody cleaning up anything anywhere. And I thought that was interesting as well. I'm like, there's nobody around here. This is unusual. A lot of the stuff was just unusual. It wasn't things. We were maxed out on attendance, but there was nobody around. Hotel rooms were expensive, but nobody was staying there. There was just a lot of these little things that added up and kind of went to the whole overall experience there. Now, we still had a fun time. We still had a good time. It was my wife's birthday. We got to see family and friends. We had a great time. But it was just one of those things when we left, we didn't come off of that trip like we have when we have gone to other parks recently. We've gone to other parks and came away really happy. And now we're here at this park that like I said earlier in the video, we've always gone to this park. We've always wanted to come back to this park. It was always, we have to leave Disneyland. Oh man, when can we come back? That's the next thing. And this time when we said we had to leave Disneyland, we were like, okay. And the when can we come back just wasn't there. So I'm really curious, is this just me? Is this just a Disneyland fatigue thing with just me? Other people that have visited Disneyland, is this a normal thing? And I'm talking about not like, hey, I went to Disneyland one time. I didn't think it was that great. I know there's tons of people out there. I'm talking about people that were like me, like my wife, that have maybe gone 5, 10, 15, 20. I don't even know how many times my wife and I have gone over the years. For a while we lived in California, we were at least going 3 or 4 plus times a year. And then we moved away. A lot of times we were still averaging once a year going back to Disneyland. So I want to hear from people that might be annual pass holders, might be, it's like, nope, we've gone out there at least once a year. We go there every year. We go there all the time, something. And I want to hear from those people especially. It's like, have you lost some of the magic? Is it gone? Or is it just me? Is I just had this amazing trip in 2025 with all these other amusement park places, and it basically just raised my own internal bar up. My own internal bar went up, and now Disneyland just doesn't hit the mark. Because let me tell you, when I went to Phantasialand in Germany, I was only there for a day, but that 100% hit the mark. The park was great. I had great interactions with people. It was clean. I can't believe how much low light operations they do out there, because I could barely see in a lot of places at nighttime. I'm used to places where that creates a lawsuit, but not out there. That was awesome to see. I love it when common sense prevails places. Just don't trip on that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's the way things should be. I've talked with other people about other things. I know I'm on the Side Friction podcast a lot. And I was talking with Bob from there, and we were talking about a very similar thing with this fatigue in general of amusement parks. Bob was going through a similar type thing there. So I was very curious. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not just me. Maybe it's a lot of people. Now, maybe if you've made it this far through the video, maybe after listening to it, maybe your brain's starting to stir and that might actually be what I'm feeling. Maybe that's why I'm thinking of this. Maybe that's why I'm not doing that. Are you one of those people that always had a season pass to park, whatever it might be, that's close to you, and this year you're like, nope, I'm not going to buy a season pass for that park because I just don't see the reason to go there? I think I know a handful of people like that. I think that's part of the fatigue, and it's just there's no real big draw almost anywhere to get people in. Places that are putting in new stuff, it's a lot of places are putting in kind of cookie cutter rides that are already all over the place. The market's saturated with some of these equipments. There are places that are putting in unique installations that aren't really around at all, that are capturing those little sparkling stars that are out there, like Dollywood's putting one in. I know we're seeing a lot of announcements already for the 2027 season of rides going installed. And that's pretty interesting by itself. Now, I normally don't do videos like this. Honestly, this video, all intent started out to be a trip report video. Honestly, I didn't record a lot of good things because the whole trip started to blend into just this giant checkbox of like, yeah, okay, we went there and we did that, and it's time to move on. So they just didn't put the effort into that one. Nothing like I would have at a different amusement park if I had gone there. If I had gone to a new amusement park, like, ooh, maybe I can make this happen, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to force it. This year, maybe I might make it out to Santa Claus, Indiana. Maybe there's a voyage in my journey, when there might be something like that. Maybe get on the voyage out there and do something like one of those new parks. It's like, I will document the crap out of that stuff. But going back to Disneyland, I just didn't feel like it. I felt like I was going through the motions, and that was it. It just did not hit. So I'm really curious on this one. I know a lot of channels do the whole like leave a comment downstairs, but when I ask people to leave a comment, I genuinely want to know, like, what is your thought? Now, I may not respond to them, I've granted, but like, what's your thoughts? Are you running into this fatigue? Am I the only person? Is it just like, no, Ryan, you're crazy. We don't know. We'll go back to the same park every single time and ride on it. Or is something different now? Did something happen to you as well? And now it's like, no, for some reason this year, 2026, for some reason this year, I'm just not feeling it. And I want to know. I really do. Because I don't know what's going on. All right. I've talked at you long enough. I apologize for that. Like, subscribe, share. It does help me out. I do try to grow the channel as much as possible when possible. I know when people come across the channel, they're always like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why haven't I not heard of this before? That's the reason I try to grow the channel. I try to get that out there to people as much as I can. All right. Thanks for listening to me. Stay off the air gates. Bye.